Hey guys, it's Kate. Thank you so much for tuning in. In this tutorial I'm going to explain you how to use the Sims 4 terrain tools. I love using the terrain tools, and here you can see some of the houses that I built using the terrain tools, and in this video I'm going to explain you the very basics, but I'm also going to show you some tips and tricks for using the terrain tools for building stairs, for example, and the way that I like to use them to build houses. So we're going to start off with the basics now. In case you kind of know your way around the terrain tools already, you might want to skip this part, and in this case you can skip to 6:14, and we're going to jump right in now, and I hope that you enjoy this video. Okay, so now we are going to start off with the very basics of the terrain tools. In case you kind of know your way around the terrain tools already, you might want to skip this part. So you can skip to 6:14 to see other stuff that I'm going to explain, but I want to start off with the basics in case someone has no idea what's going on with the terrain tools. And I'm going to explain you these tools here at the bottom. So the first option is to raise terrain. This is a no-brainer really. You simply raise terrain like this. You click on the terrain and you can raise it just like this. And then we have the lower terrain option. So you pick this, you click, and the terrain goes down, and you can create a hole in the ground if you want, or you can generally lower the terrain. And then we have the smooth terrain tool, which is a little bit more exciting maybe. You can click on it and then you click on your terrain, and when you go over it, it really just smooths out everything. This is very good to create kind of natural looking landscapes and all that, but you don't want to overdo it because, as you can see, it really smooths it out completely almost, so there is not much left, so you want to use it carefully probably. And then we have the flatten terrain tool. This is a tool that I use a lot and I really love it. You can click on it and then you click on the section that you want to use as a point of reference. So let's say I'm clicking here, then I'm dragging the tool, and you can see everything goes flat. And the same happens when I'm raising the terrain. And then I use the flatten terrain tool and I use this section here at the top as a point of reference, and then I click, then I can simply make this area bigger and my little hill is growing basically. And this here is the flatten to height tool, and it technically does the same but in a different way. You click on it and then you can see this little white rectangular thing at the top, and this is your point of reference in this case. So you can see it's floating up there, and when I'm clicking, the terrain is going up until it hits this point. And you can use this slider here at the left side to adjust the height, so you can see it's now much lower, and again it only goes up until it reaches the little rectangular shape. And then we have the flatten lot tool, which is also a no-brainer really. You click on it and everything is gone. But there are also some other tools here on the left side, and we can use these to adjust the speed, the softness, and the size. So I'm going to go back to the raise terrain tool, and here I can adjust the softness. When I go to the left side, just to show you what it does, you can see that there is no softness at all. My brush is circular, and the area that I'm raising is completely circular as well now. And when I go completely to the right side with the slider, it's as soft as possible, and you can create some peaks. So you can see that at the bottom here, it is circular and it has the shape of the brush, and the same here. But as you can see, the outcome is quite different. And it just depends on what you're going for. I mean, mostly I just leave the slider in the middle, but it depends what you are doing. And here you can adjust the speed. When you place the slider on the left side, it's raising the terrain very slowly. And now we put it on the right side and it's happening very fast. I would say that this slider is quite important, because especially when you're new to terrain tools, you really want to keep this in the center or maybe even a little to the left, because I feel like when it's all the way up on the right side, it just kind of feels like losing control a little bit. I think that the best way to work with the terrain is to just slowly work out the shape that you are going for. So I would advise to not put it over to the right side. I mean, patience is key here, especially when you're working on huge areas. It can take a little bit, but I think it's not really a good idea. I mean, when you're raising, like, I don't know, a huge hill and you just want to raise it quickly just so you have a rough shape to work with, then it probably makes sense. But other than that, it's a little bit fast. And here you can change the size of your brush. And you can also hold down Shift and use your mouse wheel, which I am doing right now. So this is just a very quick and simple way to change the size. And it kind of depends if you want to go for the circular or for the rectangular square brush. It just kind of depends on what you are going for, but I think I'm mostly using this one actually. So these were the basics. So now that we have covered the very basics, we are going to talk about shaping terrain. And I think that this is the most important part when it comes to terrain. I feel like people just use the raise terrain tool mostly, and they just try to work something out, and then things just get messy real quick. So I think it's important to kind of know how to start and what to do. So as I said before, I think the best way to do this is to start shaping it slowly. So what I mostly do, this is how I mostly start off. I simply use the raise terrain tool, and then I raise a section. And what I'm doing now is I just determine the height of the area that I'm working on. So this is the height. The shape doesn't matter at this point. I'm just looking at the raised area, and this is how high I want this section to be. And then I go over to the flatten terrain tool, and then I just make this area bigger. Technically you could of course also use the flatten to height tool, but for some reason I just like to do it this way. And then I make the area bigger, and now it of course depends on what I want to do. So we're just going to do a little something now. So now I'm going to use the circular brush. And again, I'm still using the flatten terrain tool. That's all I'm using at the moment. And I want to have a lovely round shape over here. So I just use the terrain tool and go over here. I'm using the shape of the brush here. And then I make it a little bit bigger over here. And over here. And when you look at it, we have a pretty solid, good looking shape over here. And now imagine you would just do that by using the raise terrain tool. That's not really possible. And now let's say I want to make this a little bit higher and add another section on top. Then I'm just using the raise terrain tool, make it higher again using the flatten terrain tool, same method. And now I'm doing the same over here. And by working in sections and by shaping the terrain the way that you want, it's much easier to just work with the tools, in my opinion. And these are just my best friends, at least when it comes to the terrain tools, just raising it and then flatten it. And of course at this point you could also use the smooth terrain tool. I'm going to make it a little bit softer. And then you could also shape it like this. So you are then able to change the color of the area. And also don't forget, I know that people of course know that this option exists, but don't forget that you can simply undo anything that you just did in case you regret it. But we kind of did the smoothing here a little bit, so I'm going to undo it all. And this way you can simply shape it, and this is how I like to do it, and I'm going to explain in the next steps how I like to raise the terrain when I'm building a house and how I like to handle the terrain when I'm building stairs. But this is just the general idea. This is how I really use the terrain most of the time, and I think it's the most simple way to just manipulate it, because I feel like, as I said, a lot of people just try to raise it and then they kind of do something like this, and then I don't know, everything just goes messy real quick because it all looks bumpy and not really cute. So flattening the terrain is very important, but now we're going to look at some examples. I'm going to show you how you can build some nice things. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a very simple way to build some type of open basement house. We are using the room tool, and I'm building a room, and the placement of the room is pretty random at this point. For me, I'm just using the room to determine how I'm going to raise the terrain. So I'm just placing a room somewhere. And then I decide on a height for the room. This is important because this kind of determines how high I'm going to raise the terrain for this. So let's say we are using a tall wall. And then I add a flat square foundation on top, or anything, really just any type of foundation. I'm going to extend it. And now we're going to use the terrain tool. And now I just raise the terrain underneath until it can't go up any further. As you can see here now, it's almost on the same level here. And then I'm using the flatten terrain tool once again. And I'm clicking here in this section right on top of the foundation because I want this to be my point of reference. And then I'm holding down the left mouse button and I'm moving the mouse and I'm just extending the area. So at this point we only have a random room, a piece of foundation and a raised section. But this is the starting point. This is how I like to build houses that are kind of have this open basement thing going on. And this looks very random, but now I'm just going to work out a random house shape just to show you guys what I mean. So now I could simply place a room here on top. I'm just going to build a little something very quickly just so you see what I mean. Okay, so now we have a house shape at this point. And at this point, when I've just built a house, I use the flatten terrain tool once again, and then I just like to extend it a little bit further. This would be a good chance to increase the speed. I said it's easy to lose control earlier, but it's actually quite good for something like this where you really just know what you are doing and you just want to expand an area quickly, for example. So this is what we are doing now. And now, as you can see, a part of the house is sitting on the ground. And the other section is on top of a hill. But there's something that you have to keep in mind. You will always have a little gap down here. So what you just do is adding a piece of foundation. And you have to keep in mind that you have to, if you would like your Sims to walk around here, for example, you would have to add some stairs. Just in case you're building something like this and then you are, okay, this is the wrong way. In case you're wondering why the path is blocked, you should not forget the stairs. So we are just going to add them. And I think that these look so cute because it's literally just one little step and that's all. And then you could also just extend the house. You could just you could expand it over here, just a random example. And then you could also add something down here, let's say a little tower or something. I think that this is a very simple way to make houses look interesting and fun, and it's a lot of fun to build these, and it's also very simple to handle the terrain this way. And now a section sits on top of the terrain on top, and again we have another section that is at the bottom. For now I'm going to delete the stairs here, so we just have this. Doesn't look nice, but this is not about the shape of the house. I'm just trying to explain you how you can build this. And now we are going to attach some stairs to this house using the terrain tool. So now we are going to build stairs using the terrain. I'm going to show you two ways of building them. First, we are going to attach the stairs to a existing house, just like this one. It doesn't matter if you build the house using the terrain just like this, or if you just want to connect them to the floor up here or anything. So let's say we want to attach some stairs here. And we want to make them look like these beautiful multi-level stairs. So we are going to use the square brush, and now we are going to bring up the terrain just a little bit. Going to flatten it out again here. If something like this happens, just use this tool here and flatten it again. And now we want to flatten this section here. And what we have now is an area here and an area here that we can simply connect using some stairs. Of course, you would make to have sure that we can quickly fix this. I'm going to bring the foundation over here, and then we can connect them like this. And now we want to add another level, but first we are going to make this area a little bigger, and all we are using at the moment is again the raise terrain tool and the flatten terrain tool. And now we are going to raise another section over here. I'm just clicking a couple of times, and then I'm using the flatten terrain tool once again. I can bring this over here if I would like to. And now we attach some stairs here. And I'm also going to add some floor at this point. And as you just saw, you can also use this to flatten the terrain using the floor. This is also a very simple way, as you just saw. But now we have a little bump here, so we are going to flatten this. And now we are going to add another piece of stairs just like this. And you can have some fun with this. You can build really unique stairs using this method. And of course you also want to add some stair railings and a fence. And something that I like to do sometimes is just using a round piece of foundation. I'm making it a little bit smaller. And then I just add it over here. I'm removing this piece here. And now I just add a fence. And this makes it look unique, and I just like the round shape. And you could do the same at the bottom here, and you can raise them in different sections. You can add a lot of stairs. You could also get rid of this one and then just have a piece of stairs like this on the other side. You can really be creative with this, and all we did was raising a little section, and then we just used the flatten terrain tool and we just worked out section by section, which makes it very easy. But now we are going to start off with the stairs. So let's say you want to start off with the stairs. There's no house yet. So in this case, I like to use the square brush and I just raise a section. Again, I'm just clicking a couple of times to raise the terrain a little bit. Then I'm going to use the flatten terrain tool and I make this area flat and a little bit bigger. And then I add some stairs. It is down to person preference how big you want your stairs to be, and you can build lots of different kinds of stairs using this method. And now I'm using the raise terrain tool again and I'm bringing up another section up here. I'm going over to the flatten terrain tool, and again at this point it's just a little raised section, but it doesn't matter that it's not looking beautiful at the moment because I just used this to determine the height. So now I'm making it a little bit more flat so I can add more stairs. And now we are repeating this step. Again, I am just raising a section. And I am attaching some stairs, and I like to have them wider at the bottom, and then it just they get smaller. I think this is a very cool look, but you can build all kinds of different stairs with that, as I said. Just going to add a little bit of fence quickly. And some floor, of course. And now at this point you can simply attach your house. You could just start off here at the bottom, at the top I mean, and you have a foundation all the way to the bottom, and now you can just build whatever you like. And what I like to do is adding a lot of rocks, and you can size them up and then you can place them all around. And when the slope is too steep for you on the side, you could use the smooth terrain tool, preferably in a round shape, and then you can just smooth it out. And then you could just add a lot of rocks, a lot of them, and this way you can just hide the terrain and it just looks more natural. I personally love to do that. And this is how you can just work out the terrain section by section. When you're using the method that I have shown you before, the stairs, building a house like this and then having some stairs and then just hiding the edges with a lot of rocks, it will look just like a really beautiful natural landscaping. I mean, we just built these stairs, which is so simple, and we just added some rocks and it already looks more complicated than it was to build this, I would say. So this is a very cool method. Now I'm going to show you how you can build a natural looking landscape with a lot of hills. For this I'm using the circular brush, and now I'm just raising the terrain, and I do this in a very random manner. I'm not thinking about too much, I'm just not overthinking it. I'm just starting somewhere and I'm raising the terrain over here, and now I have just a little hill. And now I'm adding just another one here, And here, this is very random, which is a lot of fun. I like to work this way, just see what happens and just have a little fun with it. And now we use the smooth terrain tool, and I set it to very smooth. And then I use a smaller brush and I just click here on the edge just to make it a little bit smoother. And this just takes a little while to work out the perfect shape. I use this method to build the Lavender Fields mansion, and you just have to really work out what looks best, and sometimes you smooth it a little too much and then you just have to work on the shape again. I'm just intentionally going to smooth out a area too much just so I can show you how to handle this. So now we have very distinctive different hills. I'm going to turn off the grid. I think this looks beautiful. You could just add other flowers and a house on top, but let's say I'm just overdoing this and I connect them too much. Then you can just use your lower terrain tool, use a small brush, and then you can just go between and just separate them a little, and then you can just go back to your smooth terrain tool, but this time try not to overdo it, and then you can smooth it out a little. And again, you could use some rocks on this. You could simply add a house on top. And what I also like to do for builds like this is creating a natural looking path. And for this, I just like to roughly draw the shape of my path. Again, I'm not overthinking it too much at this point. I'm just creating a raised shape. I know this looks very bad at this point, but you just have to work it, almost like chiseling out the shape that you want for I think this is the most important part for the terrain. Just work section by section, and it's just like chiseling almost. So now we have this, and this is the shape of my path, and it looks not good at this point. But now we are going to use the flatten terrain tool again, just to make it a little bit more flat. And then I'm going to smooth it out. And you can already see that it looks a little bit more like a path at this point. Then I just go over it. Now I'm going to bring down sections on the side. And now I want to raise a section. And this is, I think that this is a little bit more advanced because you have to go back and forth between different tools, and you just have to work out the shape. Here, for example, this is just sticking out, it's too raised, so I'm just going to bring that section down again. And this can really take a while, and you can simply work out the shape step by step. I'm going to bring that up a little bit again. Going to smooth it down a little bit. And now I lost too much of that shape, so I'm simply using the flattened terrain, and I'm bringing out that little curve that I would like to have here, and the same over here. And you can really take your time with it and just work on that until you like it, and also look at it from different angles just so you see what's kind of going on and what's wrong. And don't forget that you can always undo something, so don't be afraid to just try out different things, and don't forget to save. So this is it, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. In case you have any questions, just leave a comment down below and I will get back to you. And I hope that you have a fantastic week, and I hope that you have a lot of fun using the train tools. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I hope I see you in the next video. Bye bye.